The cake hit the ground before Amara could even react. 1 second, she was holding the box. $400 of custom red velvet, gold leaf. The words Dr. Amara Okonkwo written across the top. The next second, her 10-year-old nephew Jordan had both hands on it. He shoved hard. The box tumbled off the table. The lid popped open. The cake exploded across the deck. Frosting splattered her shoes. Her good shoes, the ones she wore to her dissertation defense 3 days ago. Jordan pointed at the mess and laughed. "Oops!" His voice dripped with fake innocence. Then his face twisted into something ugly.
"But Daddy says you're used to eating leftovers anyway. So eat it off the ground, Auntie Amara. You look like a dog when you're mad."
30 guests froze. Amara's brother-in-law, Marcus, stood near the bar, beer in hand. His face turned red. Not from embarrassment. He was laughing so hard he had to grab the counter. Her sister Destiny glanced up from her phone. "Kids will be kids, Amara. Don't make that face. It was just a cake." And Mama Grace walked toward her with fire in her eyes. "Amara, what are you standing there for? Grab some paper towels. That red dye is gonna stain your sister's flooring. Move!" Before I tell you what happened next, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from, and stay until the end, because the woman they told to eat off the ground like a dog is about to show them exactly who they've been dealing with. Amara stared at the ruined cake. 7 years of doctoral work, sleepless nights, a dissertation her committee called groundbreaking, and now the only symbol of that achievement was smeared across her sister's deck while a child laughed. "Well?" Mama Grace's voice cut like a knife. "Are you deaf? Clean it up!" Amara looked at her mother. For 34 years, she had obeyed that voice, jumped when Mama Grace said jump, paid when Mama Grace said pay, apologized when Mama Grace said apologize. Something cracked inside her chest. "No." Mama Grace blinked. "Excuse me?" "I said no." The backyard went silent. Destiny put down her phone. Marcus stopped laughing. Jordan pressed against his mother's side. "Amara." Mama Grace's voice dropped to that dangerous register, the one that used to make Amara's knees weak. "You will not embarrass me in front of these people. Pick up those paper towels and—" "I will do nothing." Amara bent down. She picked up a clean cloth napkin from the table. Slowly, she wiped the frosting off her heel, made sure every speck was gone. Then she dropped the soiled napkin onto the pile of ruined cake. "What do you think you're doing?" Destiny stood up, her designer dress swishing. "That's a $500 table linen. Do you know how hard it is to get red velvet out of Egyptian cotton?" "I don't care." "You don't care?" Destiny laughed. "Of course you don't. You've never cared about anything except yourself and your little degree. 7 years studying numbers while the rest of us built actual lives." Amara looked at her sister, the woman whose mortgage she had been paying for 6 years. The woman whose children's private school tuition came from checks Amara wrote every semester. The woman who had just watched her son destroy something precious and done nothing. "Built actual lives?" Amara repeated. "With what money, Destiny?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means this house belongs to me." The words hung in the air. Destiny's face went white. Marcus set down his beer. Mama Grace's mouth opened and closed. "What did you just say?" Marcus stepped forward. "This is our house. Our names are on the deed." "Your names are on the deed as residents. My name is on the mortgage as guarantor. My credit score got you approved. My income keeps the bank from foreclosing every time you miss a payment." Amara paused, "which happens every other month." "That's not true." Destiny's voice shook. "Marcus handles the finances. We're perfectly stable." "You're perfectly in debt. Your husband hasn't made a mortgage payment on time in 3 years. I cover the shortfall because the bank calls me every time you're late." Marcus stepped between them. "Listen here, you ungrateful." "Choose your next words carefully." Amara's voice was ice. "That Range Rover in the driveway, my name. That BMW you drove to the golf course yesterday, my name. The business loan you took out 3 years ago, I'm the guarantor. She tilted her head. Want to keep yelling at me? I can make one phone call and you'll be walking home. Marcus's face went from red to white. You're bluffing. Try me. Mama Grace stepped forward, hands raised, the gesture she used when she wanted something. The gesture that preceded every request for money. Now, baby, let's not say things we don't mean. We're all family here. Jordan is just a child. He didn't know. He knew exactly what he was doing. Amara cut her off. He repeated what his father says about me. Eat off the ground like a dog. That's not something a 10-year-old invents. That's something he learned. She looked at Jordan. Did your daddy teach you that? Did he tell you Auntie Amara eats leftovers? Did he tell you I'm a dog? Jordan nodded slowly. His lip trembled. That's what I thought. Amara turned to Marcus. I've been carrying this family for 15 years. I paid for Destiny's wedding. I paid for your honeymoon. I co-signed your first apartment lease because your credit was destroyed from gambling. I loaned you the down payment for this house. I guaranteed your car loans. I funded your business. Her voice rose. And what did I get? I sit at the back of family photos. I hear secondhand that you call me a charity case. I watch my nephew destroy something I worked 7 years to achieve while his parents laugh. She turned to her mother, and my own mother tells me to clean it up, like I'm the maid, like I'm nothing. You are being dramatic. Mama Grace's face twisted. This is not how we raised you. You do not air family business in front of guests. You apologize, and we move on. No. Amara, I said no. Amara straightened her spine. I'm done apologizing for existing. I'm done writing checks so you can pretend to be successful. I'm done being the invisible wallet. She walked toward the gate. Where do you think you're going? Destiny's voice was shrill. We haven't taken the family photos. Mama needs a picture for the church newsletter. Amara kept walking. Amara! Mama Grace's voice cracked like a whip. If you walk out that gate, you are not welcome back. You will not set foot in this family until you apologize and remember your place. Amara stopped at the gate. She turned. Remember my place? Her voice was quiet. I know exactly what my place has been. The ATM, the safety net, the backup plan, the one you call when you need money and ignore when you don't. She opened the gate. But here's what you don't know, Mama. My place is about to change, and when it does, you're going to wish you had treated me like a daughter instead of a servant. The gate swung shut behind her. Marcus watched the battered Honda pull out of the driveway. He laughed. Can you believe that? 7 years getting a degree, and she still drives a car that belongs in a junkyard. Destiny didn't answer. She was staring at the gate. Baby? Marcus walked over. Don't tell me you're worried about her threats. She's bluffing. Remember when she said she wouldn't pay for Jordan's school? She caved in 2 days. This felt different. Different how? She's never walked out before. She's never said no to Mama. Marcus waved his hand. She's throwing a tantrum because her cake got ruined. She'll calm down. It always happens. What if it doesn't? Then we remind her what she owes us. She signed those papers. If she pulls out, her credit gets destroyed too. She's not going to tank her own finances to spite us. Mama Grace walked over. That girl has lost her mind. All those years of studying made her forget where she comes from. She'll remember soon enough. Marcus smiled. Give it a week. She'll be calling, apologizing, begging to come back. And when she does? We make her wait, let her suffer, then we graciously forgive her. His smile widened. And we make sure she knows the next time she acts out, there will be consequences. Good. Mama Grace nodded. That's exactly what she needs. Consequences. Destiny looked at the smashed cake, the gold leaf scattered like fallen stars, the words Dr. Amara barely visible. Should we clean that up? Leave it. Marcus picked up his beer. The housekeeper deals with it tomorrow. Right now, we have guests. But Destiny couldn't shake the feeling. She had seen something in her sister's eyes, something she had never seen before. It looked like a door, closing forever. That night, Destiny sat on her white sofa, scrolling through her phone. Marcus was in his office, supposedly working on financial reports, probably playing online poker. Her phone buzzed. Family group chat. Mama Grace had sent a long message. Amara, your attitude today was completely unacceptable. You embarrassed your sister in her own home. You embarrassed us in front of the deacon and Marcus's business partners. We have discussed this as a family and decided your behavior has become toxic. You think because you have a degree you're better than us? You are not. Until you learn humility and remember who raised you, do not come back. We are cutting ties. Do not contact us until you apologize to Jordan for ruining his fun and to Destiny for disrespecting her hospitality. You also need to reimburse Destiny for the deck cleaning. That red dye will be expensive to remove. Destiny reacted with a heart emoji. Marcus saw the notification and added his own message. And don't think this gets you out of the car payment. The BMW note is due on the 15th. Transfer the money like usual. I don't want late fees messing up my credit score. Destiny waited for Amara's response. She expected begging, apologies, the usual pattern. What she got was something else. Amara's reply appeared an hour later. Message received. I will respect your decision to cut ties. Since I am no longer considered family, I will no longer act as your financier. I am withdrawing from your lives completely, starting with the financial accounts. Effective tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I am removing my name from every loan, lease, and guarantee I have signed on your behalf. Enjoy the silence. Destiny stared at the message. Then she started to laugh. Nervous, the kind that bubbles up when you're not sure if something is funny or terrifying. Marcus, she called. Come look at this. Marcus wandered in with a glass of whiskey. He read over her shoulder. His face went through several expressions: amusement, confusion, fear. She's bluffing. She has to be. What if she's not? She won't do it. Her credit is tied to those accounts too. If she pulls out, it tanks her score just as much as ours. Destiny thought about her sister, the woman who worked 3 jobs through college, the woman who earned a PhD while they partied, the woman who had always been the responsible one. Marcus, what if she doesn't care about her credit score anymore? Everyone cares about their credit score. Not everyone, just people who need to borrow money. Destiny felt cold. Amara has never asked us for a dime. Never. What if she doesn't need credit because she doesn't need to borrow anything? Marcus was quiet. That's ridiculous. She drives a Honda. She lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. She wears clothes from Target. She's not some secret millionaire. How do you know? What? How do you know where she lives? Have you ever been to her apartment? Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. She told us she works as a document processor. Destiny's voice was rising. But I don't know what company. I don't know her salary. I don't know anything about her life except what she tells us. She paused. What she lets us believe. You're being paranoid. Am I? She said 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's specific. That's planned. That's not emotional. That's strategy. Marcus took a long drink. Fine. Tomorrow morning, I'll call the bank. I'll tell them she's having a mental episode. We have a relationship with them. They'll listen. And if they don't, then we refinance. We figure it out. He squeezed her shoulder. Baby, we've been doing this for years. We always land on our feet. She's throwing a tantrum. By next week, she'll be begging to come back. Destiny wanted to believe him, but she couldn't shake the image of her sister's eyes. Those weren't tantrum eyes. Those were war eyes. 40 miles away, Amara stepped out of the elevator into her penthouse. She kicked off her heels, walked barefoot across heated marble floors that her family didn't know existed, poured herself a glass of wine that cost more than Marcus made in a week. Her phone sat silent on the coffee table. She had blocked every number, turned off notifications, severed the digital connection that had kept her tethered to their demands for 15 years. Amara walked to her home office, sat down at her mahogany desk, opened her laptop. The banking portal loaded. She navigated to the page listing every liability she had guaranteed. The mortgage, $1.4 million. Her name as guarantor because Marcus's credit score was 492. The Range Rover lease, $72,000. In her name because Destiny maxed her cards on handbags. The BMW lease, $68,000. Her name because Marcus couldn't qualify for a library card. The business loan, $75,000. She loaned it directly with a notarized promissory note. Never got a dime back. Credit cards, medical bills for Mama Grace's hip, tuition for Jordan's private school. $2.3 million. That was what she carried for people who called her a dog. Amara opened her email, composed a message to her attorney. Subject: Execute decoupling protocol. Please proceed with immediate removal of my name from all co-signed assets in the attached file. File notices with credit bureaus and lenders by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Do not accept calls from secondary parties. Direct all communication to my office. She attached the spreadsheet, the one she had maintained for years, titled Family Liabilities. She pressed send. Then she leaned back and looked at the skyline. They thought they were cutting her off. They had no idea she was cutting them off from something more valuable than love: money. Her phone buzzed, a notification from her identity protection service. She opened it. Alert: Credit inquiry detected. Source: IP address registered to Emmanuel Okonkwo, Houston, Texas. Attempted access to credit report using SSN ending in 4472. Amara stared at the screen. Her father's IP address. Someone at her parents' house was trying to access her credit report tonight, hours after they told her to stay away. Her hands trembled, not with fear, with rage. They weren't just ungrateful. They weren't just cruel. They were trying to steal from her. She screenshotted the alert, forwarded it to her attorney with a note. Add identity theft monitoring to the file. Document everything. We may need this for criminal charges. Then she picked up her wine and walked to the window. The city glittered below her. Millions of lights, millions of lives. And somewhere out there, her family was sitting in a house she paid for, trying to figure out how to rob her. They had no idea what was coming. Amara raised her glass. To Dr. Amara Okonkwo. You finally stopped being the family dog. She drank. The wine tasted like freedom. Back in the suburbs, Destiny couldn't sleep. She was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Marcus snored beside her. Her phone glowed on the nightstand. She picked it up, read Amara's message again. Effective tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I am removing my name from every loan, lease, and guarantee. 9 a.m. That was 7 hours away. Destiny got out of bed, walked to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water. Her hands were shaking. She thought about the mortgage, $14,200 a month if they lost Amara's preferential rate. They couldn't afford half that. She thought about the cars, both leases in Amara's name. If she reported them as unauthorized, they'd be repossessed within hours. She thought about the business loan, the one Marcus swore would pay off, the one that was supposed to make them rich, $75,000, due on demand. Destiny had never read the promissory note. She had just trusted Marcus when he said everything was fine. But nothing was fine. Nothing had been fine for years. She walked to Marcus's office. The door was closed. She could hear him typing, probably losing more money on poker. She thought about knocking, thought about asking him to show her the real numbers, the accounts she wasn't supposed to know about, the debts he had hidden. But she didn't knock, because she was afraid of what she would find. Instead, she walked back to the bedroom, laid down beside her snoring husband, stared at the ceiling. 6 hours and 43 minutes until 9 a.m. 6 hours and 43 minutes until everything changed. At 7:30 a.m., Marcus's phone rang. He grabbed it from the nightstand, still half asleep.
Hello.
Mr. Thompson, this is Jennifer Walsh from Sovereign Trust Bank. I'm calling about your mortgage account. Marcus sat up.
What about it?
We received notification this morning that your guarantor, Dr. Amara Okonkwo, has initiated withdrawal proceedings. As per the terms of your loan agreement, this triggers an immediate rate adjustment.
Wait, what? She can't do that.
Sir, the guarantor withdrawal clause is clearly outlined in Section 14 of your mortgage contract. Dr. Okonkwo has every right to remove herself from the obligation.
But, Marcus scrambled out of bed, what does that mean for our payments? Your interest rate will adjust from the guaranteed rate of 3.2% to the standard subprime rate based on the primary borrower's credit profile. According to our records, that would be 19.8%. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What's the new payment? Your monthly obligation will increase from $4,500 to $14,200, effective immediately. $14,000. He couldn't breathe. That's impossible. We can't afford that. I understand, sir. You have 30 days to either refinance the loan with a new guarantor or pay the full principal balance. If neither occurs, foreclosure proceedings will begin automatically. Marcus's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the bed. There has to be a mistake. Let me talk to someone else. Let me talk to your manager. I am the manager, Mr. Thompson, and there's no mistake. The documentation is all in order. Is there anything else I can help you with? No. The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone. Destiny appeared in the doorway. Who was that? The bank. What did they want? Marcus looked at his wife, at the woman who trusted him to handle the finances, at the woman who had no idea how deep the hole actually was. She did it. His voice was hollow. Amara actually did it. At 9:15 a.m., Amara sat in Mr. Holbrook's office at Sovereign Trust Bank. She was wearing her charcoal Armani suit, the one that cost more than her brother-in-law made in 3 months. The withdrawal clauses have been executed, Mr. Holbrook said, sliding a document across his desk. The mortgage notification was sent at 7:30 a.m. The auto lease revocations are being processed as we speak. Good. Amara signed the paper. And the credit cards? Cancelled. Any transaction attempted after 9 a.m. this morning will be declined. The business loan? We've sent the demand letter via certified mail. They have 24 hours to pay the $75,000 in full or we file a lien against all personal assets. Amara leaned back in her chair. Is there anything else, Dr. Okonkwo? Yes, I want repossession orders filed for both vehicles by noon. Priority pickup. Public locations preferred. Mr. Holbrook paused. That will cause significant embarrassment to the current drivers. I'm aware. They may attempt to hide the vehicles. I have GPS tracking on both. The Range Rover is currently at a shopping center in Galleria. The BMW is at a golf club on the west side. Mr. Holbrook typed something into his computer. I'll notify our recovery team. Thank you. He looked at her over his glasses. Dr. Okonkwo, I've known you for 7 years. I've seen you sign dozens of documents to help your family. May I ask what changed? Amara thought about the cake, about Jordan's laugh, about her mother telling her to clean the floor like a servant. They told me to eat off the ground like a dog, she said, quietly. So I decided to stop feeding them. Mr. Holbrook nodded slowly. Understood. He pressed a button on his phone. Jennifer, process the vehicle recovery orders. Priority 1. At 12:47 p.m., Marcus was sitting at the best table in the Capitol Grill. 2 potential investors sat across from him, men he had been courting for months, men with $200,000 they were considering putting into his fund. Marcus was sweating through his shirt, but he kept his smile steady. Gentlemen, this opportunity is once in a lifetime. I'm talking guaranteed returns of 20% annually. My track record speaks for itself.
The older investor, a retired surgeon, nodded thoughtfully.
And the initial investment?
100,000 minimum, but I'm prepared to offer you both a special arrangement. Get in on the ground floor. The surgeon reached for his checkbook. Marcus's heart soared. Then the waiter appeared. Excuse me, sir. I'm terribly sorry, but your card has been declined. Marcus froze. That's impossible. Run it again. I've run it 3 times, sir. The system is showing the account has been closed by the primary cardholder. The 2 investors exchanged glances. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. There must be a mistake. My bank is overzealous with fraud protection. Let me make a quick call. He stood up, walked toward the restroom, pulled out his phone. He dialed Amara's number. 1 ring, then a click. The number you have reached is not accepting calls at this time. He dialed again. Same message. He tried texting. Message not delivered. She had blocked him. Marcus leaned against the wall. His hands were shaking. His expensive lunch was about to become his most humiliating moment. He walked back to the table. Gentlemen, I apologize. There seems to be an administrative error with my accounts. Would one of you mind covering this? I'll Venmo you immediately. The surgeon stood up, buttoned his jacket. That won't be necessary, Marcus. We'll cover the bill. He paused. But I think we're going to pass on the investment. If you can't manage your own finances, I don't think you should be managing ours. They threw a black card on the table and walked out. Marcus sat alone. The waiter cleared the plates, and somewhere across town, Amara was watching a blue dot on her GPS tracker, waiting for the tow truck to arrive. At 2:03 p.m., Marcus was driving the BMW to the golf club. He needed to clear his head, needed to think, needed to figure out how to fix this disaster. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Thompson, this is Officer Davis with the Houston Police Department. I need you to pull over immediately. Pull over? Why? Sir, we've received a report that the vehicle you're driving is being operated without the owner's consent. Marcus laughed. That's ridiculous. My sister-in-law owns this car. I drive it every day. Not anymore, sir. The owner has flagged it as unauthorized. You need to pull over now. Marcus saw the blue lights in his rearview mirror. He pulled to the side of the road, right in front of the entrance to his golf club. The officer approached his window. Step out of the vehicle, sir. Keep your hands where I can see them. This is a misunderstanding. Step out. Now. Marcus stumbled out of the car. Behind the police cruiser, a flatbed tow truck was pulling up. What's happening? Marcus's voice cracked. You can't take my car. It's not your car, sir. The owner reported it as unauthorized at 9 a.m. this morning. You're lucky she's not pressing charges. The tow truck driver hooked chains to the BMW. The winch started grinding. Members of the golf club were gathering at the entrance, watching, pointing. Some of them had their phones out, filming. Marcus saw his golf buddies drive past in a silver Porsche. They slowed down, looked at him standing on the grass, being questioned by police, while his status symbol was hoisted into the air. They shook their heads and drove through the gates. Marcus was left standing on the curb. No car, no friends, no way home. He pulled out his phone and dialed Amara one more time. This time, she answered. Hello, Marcus. He couldn't find the words. You did this. You actually did this. I did exactly what I said I would do. They took my car in front of my golf partners. Do you have any idea what you've done to my reputation? You ruined your own reputation when you decided to treat your financier like dirt. I'll sue you. I'll destroy you. You'll do nothing. Amara's voice was ice. Because you have nothing. No credit, no assets, no leverage. You're standing on the side of the road right now, aren't you? In your expensive golf shoes with no way home? Marcus was breathing hard. How do you know that? I know everything, Marcus. I've known everything for a very long time. And since you're walking home today, here's a suggestion. Her voice dropped. Check the ground. Maybe there's some cake down there you can eat. The line went dead. Marcus stood on the curb. The sun beat down on his head. And for the first time in his life, he understood what it felt like to have nothing. At 3:30 p.m., Destiny was at the mall. She was trying to distract herself, trying to pretend everything was normal, trying to ignore the 17 missed calls from her husband. She had just bought a new handbag, a little retail therapy, nothing excessive. When she walked back to the parking lot, the Range Rover was gone. She stood in the empty space, blinked, looked around. Maybe she parked somewhere else. She walked up and down the row, then the next row, then the next. The car was gone. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Vehicle recovered on behalf of owner. For questions, contact Sovereign Trust Bank Asset Recovery Division. Destiny's shopping bag slipped from her fingers. She called Marcus. "Baby, where are you? Something happened to the car." "I know." His voice was hollow. "They took mine too."
What? We have no cars, Destiny. We have no credit cards. We have no money. He paused. "And we have 30 days to come up with $1.4 million, or we lose the house." Destiny sat down on the curb, right there in the parking lot, surrounded by shopping bags full of things she couldn't afford. She started to cry. At 4 p.m., Mama Grace's phone rang. "Hello? Mrs. Okonkwo, this is Jennifer Walsh from Sovereign Trust Bank. I'm calling about the guarantor status on your daughter Destiny's mortgage." "Yes?" "We wanted to inform you that Dr. Amara Okonkwo has officially withdrawn as guarantor. As a result, the interest rate has been adjusted." Mama Grace felt a chill. Adjusted to what? 19.8%. The new monthly payment will be $14,200. The phone slipped from Mama Grace's hand. She picked it up with trembling fingers. "There must be something we can do. Amara is my daughter. She wouldn't do this to her own family." "I'm sorry, ma'am. Dr. Okonkwo's instructions were very clear. She has also requested that we direct all future communications through her attorney." "Her attorney?" "Yes, ma'am. A Mr. Sterling from Sterling & Associates." Mama Grace knew that name. Sterling & Associates, the most expensive law firm in Houston, the kind that handled corporate executives and politicians. How can Amara afford? "Is there anything else I can help you with, Mrs. Okonkwo?" No, The line went dead. Mama Grace sat in her living room. The house suddenly felt smaller. The furniture looked cheaper. The walls seemed to close in. She picked up her phone and dialed Amara's number. "The number you have reached is not accepting calls." She tried again. Same message. She tried from her husband's phone. Same message. Amara had blocked them all. Mama Grace looked at the family photos on the wall. Her daughters smiling, her son-in-law in his expensive suit, her grandson in his private school uniform. And in the back corner, barely visible, Amara. Always in the back corner, always barely visible. Mama Grace had never noticed before how small they had made her. Now she was starting to understand. The small one had teeth, and she was finally biting back. At 6 p.m., the family gathered at Mama Grace's house. Destiny was still crying, her mascara streaked down her face. Marcus was pacing the floor, his golf clothes wrinkled and stained with sweat from his 3-mile walk home. Pastor Emmanuel sat in his recliner, looking like a man who had aged 10 years in one day. "She can't do this," Marcus said for the 100th time. "There must be laws. There must be something." "She followed the law perfectly." Pastor Emmanuel's voice was tired. "I called my lawyer friend. He said everything she did was legal. We signed contracts giving her the right to withdraw." "But she's family." "Family doesn't mean what we thought it meant." Pastor Emmanuel looked at his wife. "We created this, Grace, all of us. We took and took and took, and we never stopped to think what would happen when she decided to stop giving." "Don't you dare blame me." Mama Grace's voice was sharp. "I raised that girl. I put food on the table. I sent her to school. Everything she has because of this family." "Everything she built herself." Pastor Emmanuel shook his head. "We just convinced ourselves we were part of it." "So what do we do?" Destiny wiped her eyes. "We have 30 days. We need $1.4 million. We need cars. We need Amara." Marcus stopped pacing. "We need to get her back. She blocked us."
Then we go to her apartment. We show up at her job. We make her listen. And say what? Pastor Emmanuel asked. Sorry we told you to eat off the ground? Sorry we laughed while your nephew humiliated you? Sorry we've been treating you like an ATM for 15 years?
Silence. Nobody had an answer. Because nobody could think of a single thing they had done to deserve Amara's help. And deep down, they were all starting to realize something terrifying. They didn't know her. They didn't know where she really lived. They didn't know what she really did. They didn't know how much money she really had. They had been so busy using her that they never bothered to see her. And now she was gone, and they were drowning. At 11 p.m., Amara stood at the window of her penthouse. The city glittered below her, peaceful, indifferent, beautiful. Her phone lay silent on the table. No notifications, no demands, no guilt trips. For the first time in 15 years, nobody needed anything from her. She thought about her family, about the chaos she had unleashed, about the panic that was spreading through their lives like wildfire. A small part of her, the part that remembered braided hair and Sunday mornings and her mother's laughter, felt a twinge of guilt. But then she remembered Jordan's face, the cruel smile, the learned cruelty. Eat off the ground like a dog. The guilt evaporated. Amara picked up her wine and raised it to the window. Day 1, she whispered. 29 to go. She drank. The wine tasted like justice, and tomorrow, when the sun rose over Houston, the destruction would continue, because Amara wasn't just removing her name from documents, she was removing herself from a family that had never deserved her, and she was only getting started. The next morning, Mama Grace woke up at 5 a.m. with a plan. If Amara wouldn't answer her calls, she would send people who could not be ignored. She picked up her phone and started dialing. Sister Patterson answered on the second ring. Grace? It's barely sunrise. What's wrong? It's Amara. Mama Grace let her voice crack, just enough to sound broken. She's lost her mind, sister. She's trying to destroy our family. I need the prayer chain to reach out to her. Maybe she'll listen to the church. What happened? She's cutting us off financially. She's taking everything, the house, the cars. She's doing it out of spite because Jordan accidentally knocked over her graduation cake. Accidentally? He's 10 years old. He didn't mean any harm. But Amara is acting like he committed a crime. She walked out of the party, and now she's trying to put her own sister on the street. Sister Patterson clucked her tongue. That doesn't sound like Amara. She's always been so quiet, so helpful. The degree changed her. Mama Grace wiped fake tears from her eyes. 7 years of studying made her think she's better than us. She told me to my face that she's done being part of this family. Can you imagine? Her own mother. I'll make some calls, Sister Patterson said. We'll bring her back to the Lord. Thank you, sister. You're a blessing. Mama Grace hung up and smiled. Within an hour, the church network activated. 30 women with nothing better to do than insert themselves into other people's business. They started calling, texting, leaving voicemails on every number associated with Amara Okonkwo. By 8 a.m., Amara's office phone was ringing non-stop. Her assistant knocked on the door. Dr. Okonkwo, there's a woman on line 3 who says she's from your mother's church. She's demanding to speak with you about your spiritual condition. Transfer her to voicemail. There are 6 more holding. Transfer them all. Amara turned back to her computer. She had expected this. The flying monkeys, the guilt brigade, the church ladies who thought they had the right to judge everyone else's business. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Amara, this is Deaconess Williams. Your mother is worried sick. God does not bless children who abandon their parents. Call her immediately and repent. Another text, different number. Honor thy father and mother. The Bible is clear. You are sinning against your own blood. Another. We are praying for your soul. Greed is a terrible thing. Don't let Satan use you to destroy your family. Amara read each message. Then she opened a folder on her laptop, the one labeled Insurance. 3 years ago, Marcus had left his iPad at her apartment after a family dinner. He had forgotten to log out of his messaging apps. Amara had found a group chat with his college friends. She had screenshotted everything. Now she scrolled through the screenshots until she found the one she needed. A conversation from Easter Sunday 2 years ago. Marcus had posted a photo of Sister Patterson in her famous purple hat. His caption read, "Look at these clowns, circus for old hags. Can't believe I have to pretend to respect these loudmouthed idiots just to keep the gravy train rolling. The pastor looks like a pimp in a polyester suit." His friends had responded with laughing emojis. Amara selected the screenshot. She forwarded it to Sister Patterson with a simple note. "Before you judge me, you should know what my brother-in-law really thinks of you." Then she sent it to Deaconess Williams, to Mother Johnson, to every single church member who had messaged her that morning. She sat back and waited. 3 minutes later, her phone exploded. Not with messages for her, with messages she was being CC'd on. The prayer chain was imploding. Sister Patterson to Mama Grace. "Did you know your son-in-law called me a loud-mouthed old hag? I have the screenshot. I cooked that man pot roast last Easter and he sat in my house calling me a clown?" Deaconess Williams to Sister Patterson. "He called Pastor Davis a pimp? A pimp? I'm forwarding this to the deacon board immediately." Mother Johnson to the entire prayer chain. "I always knew that white boy was no good, smiling in our faces while mocking us behind our backs. Grace, you need to handle your household." Amara watched the chaos unfold. Within 20 minutes, the prayer chain had completely reversed course. They were no longer attacking her. They were attacking Marcus. They were attacking Destiny for marrying him. They were attacking Mama Grace for defending him. The flying monkeys had turned around, and they were flying straight toward the people who sent them. Amara's assistant knocked again. "Dr. Okonkwo, the calls have stopped." "I know." "What did you do?" "I gave them a new target." Back at Mama Grace's house, the phone was ringing off the hook, but it wasn't Amara calling to apologize. It was Sister Patterson. "Grace, how dare you send me to lecture your daughter while your son-in-law has been mocking this congregation for years?" "Sister, I don't know what you're talking about." "I'm looking at the screenshot right now. He called me an old hag. He called our pastor a pimp. And you knew about this?" "I didn't know anything." "The women's auxiliary meeting is canceled. The church gala invitation is rescinded. And don't you dare show that man's face in our sanctuary until he makes a public apology." The line went dead. Mama Grace's hands were shaking. She called Marcus. "What did you do?" "What do you mean, what did I do?" "The church ladies are saying you made fun of them. There are screenshots. Sister Patterson is talking about banning us from services." Marcus went silent. "Marcus, did you call Sister Patterson an old hag?" "It was a private conversation. Years ago. How would they even—" He stopped. "Amara, she must have seen it somehow. She must have been spying on me." "She's sending those screenshots to everyone who contacted her this morning. The entire church is turning against us." "That vindictive little—" "Don't you understand what's happening?" Mama Grace's voice rose to a shriek. "She's not just taking our money. She's taking our reputation. She's taking everything." Marcus threw his phone across the room. It shattered against the wall, and in her penthouse across town, Amara took another sip of coffee and watched the destruction spread. By noon, the situation had escalated beyond anything the family anticipated. Destiny sat on her mother's couch, scrolling through social media with shaking hands. "It's everywhere," she whispered. "Someone posted the screenshots." The community Facebook group. People are sharing it, commenting. They're calling Marcus a racist. "He's not racist," Mama Grace said weakly. "He just has opinions." "He called the pastor a pimp, Mama. He said the church ladies were idiots, in writing, with his name on it." Marcus paced the floor. His shirt was wrinkled. He hadn't showered. The sweat stains under his arms were spreading. "We need to focus," he said. "The church thing is embarrassing, but it's not the real problem. The real problem is money. We need $1.4 million in 30 days, or we're homeless." "And how do you propose we get that?" Pastor Emmanuel asked from his recliner. "Our credit is destroyed. No bank will touch us. We have no assets that aren't already leveraged."
There has to be a way. There's always a way.
Destiny looked up from her phone. What about your investors, the ones you've been courting? Marcus's face went pale.
What about them?
Call them. Tell them it's an emergency. Ask for a bridge loan.
I can't.
Why not? Marcus stopped pacing. He looked at the floor.
What aren't you telling us?
Pastor Emmanuel's voice sharpened.
Marcus, if there's something we need to know, the investors pulled out.
Marcus's voice was barely audible.
Yesterday, after my card got declined at lunch. They said if I couldn't manage my own finances, they didn't trust me with theirs.
Silence. How much were they going to invest? Destiny asked.
$200,000.
So you lost $200,000 because you couldn't pay for lunch?
It wasn't my fault. It was Amara. She canceled the card while I was in the middle of...
It's always someone else's fault, isn't it? Pastor Emmanuel stood up. His voice was cold, disappointed.
Your gambling debts weren't your fault. Your failed investments weren't your fault. Your max credit cards weren't your fault. And now losing our only hope for bridge financing isn't your fault either.
Dad?
Don't call me Dad.
Pastor Emmanuel walked toward the door.
I accepted you into this family because you promised to take care of my daughter. You promised to be a provider. Instead, you've been a parasite. You've been feeding off my other daughter for years, and when she finally cut you off, you have nothing. You are nothing.
He walked out. The door slammed behind him. Destiny started crying again. Marcus stood frozen in the middle of the room, and Mama Grace, for the first time in her life, didn't know what to say. That evening, Marcus made a decision. If they couldn't get money legitimately, they would get it another way. He gathered the family in the living room. Destiny, Mama Grace, even Pastor Emmanuel, who had returned after his walk but wouldn't look at anyone.
I have an idea,
Marcus said.
Your ideas are what got us here.
Pastor Emmanuel muttered.
Just listen.
Marcus pulled out his laptop.
Amara has perfect credit. Perfect. She got approved for loans we couldn't even dream of if we could just access her credit
Line for 48 hours.
Access it how? Destiny asked. She's your sister. You've seen her handwriting 1,000 times. You have her old birthday cards, the lease agreement she signed for us. Destiny's eyes went wide. You want me to forge her signature? It's not forgery, it's borrowing. We just need a bridge loan to get us through this. Once the market turns around, once I close a real deal, we pay it back. She never even has to know.
That's a federal crime.
Pastor Emmanuel's voice was sharp.
Identity theft. Fraud. You're talking about sending my daughter to prison. I'm talking about saving this family.
Marcus slammed his hand on the table.
Do you want to be homeless? Do you want Jordan growing up in a shelter? We have no other options.
Mama Grace had been silent. Now she spoke. How would it work? Everyone turned to look at her. Mama? Destiny's voice trembled. You can't be serious. I'm asking a question. Mama Grace's face was hard, set. How would it work? Marcus leaned forward.
There's a lender called Sharkbridge Capital. They make high-risk loans with minimal verification. All they need is a credit score and a signature. Amara's score is over 800. They'll approve anything up to $600,000 with just her signature.
And how do we get her signature? Marcus pulled out an old Christmas card. Amara's handwriting was neat, precise, the loops of her letters distinctive but not complicated.
Destiny practices until she can copy it perfectly. We fill out the application online. We sign her name. The money hits an account we control. We use it to cover the mortgage and the business shortfall. By the time anyone notices, we've already fixed everything. And if Amara finds out?
Pastor Emmanuel asked.
She won't. She blocked us, remember? She's not checking her credit reports. She thinks she won. She's not looking over her shoulder.
Destiny stared at the Christmas card, at her sister's signature, at the woman who had paid for her wedding, her house, her children's education. I can't do this, she whispered.
You have to. Marcus grabbed her hands. Baby, think about Jordan. Think about what happens to him if we lose everything. He'll be pulled out of his school. He'll lose his friends. He'll know his parents failed him. Is that what you want?
Destiny's tears fell onto the Christmas card. She's my sister.
She was your sister. She cut you off. She told you to eat off the ground, remember? She's not your family anymore. She made that clear.
Actually,
She's trying to destroy us.
Marcus's voice dropped, softened.
This is self-defense. This is survival. We're just taking what we should have had all along. The money she hoarded while we struggled. The credit she built while we suffered. It belongs to this family. All we're doing is claiming it.
Mama Grace put her hand on Destiny's shoulder.
Do it for Jordan,
she said quietly. Don't let your son see his father in handcuffs because you were too scared to.
Do what was necessary. Destiny looked at the card. She looked at her husband. She looked at her mother. Then she picked up a pen. Show me what to write. They practiced for 3 hours. Destiny traced Amara's signature over and over. The first attempts were shaky. The second batch was better. By the 50th try, she had captured the curve of the K, the loop of the S, the distinctive way Amara crossed her T's. Marcus pulled up the Sharkbridge website. He filled out the application with Amara's information, her full name, her social security number, her address, her employment details.
How do you know all this?
Destiny asked. She had to provide it when she co-signed our loans. I kept copies.
That's creepy.
That's smart. I always knew she might turn on us someday. I just didn't know when.
He got to the signature page, a digital box where you could draw your signature with a mouse or upload a scanned image.
We need a clean copy, Marcus said. Sign her name on this paper. Make it perfect. I'll scan it and upload it.
Destiny took a deep breath. She positioned the pen. Her hand hovered over the paper.
I can't. Destiny.
I can't do this to her.
The tears started again.
She's still my sister, no matter what she did, no matter what she said. I can't send her to prison. I can't steal her identity. I can't.
Mama Grace grabbed the pen from her hand.
Then I'll do it. She sat down at the table, studied the sample signature, and with the steady hand of a woman who had signed 1,000 church documents, she forged her daughter's name. The signature was perfect. Marcus scanned it, uploaded it, clicked submit.
Now we wait, he said. They usually approve within 24 hours.
Destiny buried her face in her hands. Pastor Emmanuel stood by the window, staring into the darkness. And Mama Grace sat back with a satisfied nod. None of them knew that their plan had already failed, because 60 miles away, in a penthouse they didn't know existed, Amara's Identity Protection Service had already flagged the application. She was reading the alert on her phone. Credit inquiry detected. Sharkbridge Capital. Loan amount, $600,000. IP address, Emmanuel Okonkwo Residence, Houston, Texas. Amara stared at the screen. They had actually done it. Her own family, her own mother. They had crossed the line from emotional abuse to federal crime. She took a screenshot, forwarded it to her attorney. Then she typed a message to her private investigator. They took the bait. Document everything. We're going to need this for the FBI. She set down her phone and walked to the window. The city lights stretched to the horizon, peaceful, indifferent, unaware of the war being waged in the darkness. Her family had just committed identity theft. They had forged her signature on a federal loan document. They had handed her everything she needed to put them in prison. A small part of her, the part that still remembered laughter and birthday cakes and her mother's,
hands braiding her hair, felt a stab of grief. But the grief was quickly swallowed by something colder. They had made their choice. Now she would make hers. The next morning, Amara was sitting in her attorney's office when the news arrived. Sharkbridge approved the loan, Mr. Sterling said, looking at his computer screen. They wired $600,000 to an account this morning. Let me guess, an account my sister controls. An account opened 3 days ago in the name of Sunrise Holdings, LLC. The registered agent is your brother-in-law. Amara nodded slowly. They created a shell company to receive stolen funds. That adds another charge. Several charges, actually. Wire fraud, bank fraud,
identity theft, conspiracy, and since the loan crossed state lines, these are all federal offenses. How long do we wait? My recommendation? Mr. Sterling leaned back in his chair. Let them spend some of the money. The more they spend, the harder it is to claim it was a misunderstanding. We want clear evidence of criminal intent. And then? And then we have options. We can report them to the FBI and let the federal system handle it. We can file a civil suit for damages. Or, he paused, we can use this as leverage. Leverage for what? Whatever you want. Their confession, their cooperation, their complete and total surrender. He looked at her carefully. Amara, you hold their futures in your hands. You can destroy them. You can imprison them. Or you can use this power to achieve something else entirely. Amara thought about her family, about the people who had taken everything from her and given nothing back, about the mother who had just forged her name, about the sister who had watched it happen, about the brother-in-law who had orchestrated the entire thing. She thought about mercy, about forgiveness, about turning the other cheek. Then she thought about Jordan's laugh, about the cake smashed on the deck, about 34 years of being invisible. Let them spend the money, she said. Let them think they've won. And then, when they're celebrating their victory, we take everything. Mr. Sterling nodded. I'll have my team monitor their accounts. The moment they make a significant purchase, we move. Thank you. Amara stood to leave. At the door, she paused. One more thing. The anniversary party they're planning for Saturday. I want to be there. You want to attend? I want to end it. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. They wanted to throw a party with my money. I think it's only fair that I get to enjoy the finale. Mr. Sterling returned the smile. I'll make the arrangements. Amara walked out of his office and into the morning sun. 4 days until the party. 4 days until everything changed. 4 days until her family learned exactly what it meant to betray someone who had nothing left to lose. 2 days before the anniversary party, Amara received a thick manila envelope from her private investigator. She opened it at her desk, spreading the contents across the mahogany surface. Photographs, bank statements, call logs. The complete picture of her brother-in-law's secret life. The first photograph made her stomach turn. Marcus pushing a stroller through Piedmont Park. A blonde woman walking beside him, her hand resting on his arm. A toddler with curly hair eating an ice cream cone. The woman was not Destiny. The child was not Jordan. Amara flipped to the next photograph. Marcus carrying groceries into a condo building. The address was in Midtown. The date stamp was from last week. The next photograph. Marcus and the blonde woman at a restaurant, holding hands across the table, both of them laughing. The next. Marcus wearing the polo shirt Destiny had bought him for Christmas. The toddler on his shoulders, both of them grinning at the camera. Amara picked up the phone and called Coleman. Tell me everything. Her name is Heather Morrison, 26 years old, marketing coordinator at a firm downtown. She lives in a 2-bedroom condo in Midtown. How long? At least 3 years, maybe longer. And the child? A boy named Ethan, 2 years old. Birth certificate lists Marcus Thompson as the father. Amara closed her eyes. The condo, she said quietly. How was it purchased? Down payment of exactly $75,000, wired from an account controlled by a shell company called Sunrise Ventures, LLC. $75,000, the exact amount she had loaned Marcus for his business startup. He never invested that money, Amara said. No, he used it to buy his mistress a home. Every emergency you covered, every slow month you subsidized, it all went to support his second family. Amara spread the photographs across her desk. 3 years of lies, 3 years of stolen money, 3 years of her sister being made a fool while Amara unknowingly funded the deception. Does Destiny know? She knows something. Coleman's voice was careful. 6 months ago, there were dozens of calls between your sister and a divorce attorney, consultations, document preparation, strategy sessions. And then? The calls stopped. She never filed. Amara thought about her sister, about the woman who had watched her son destroy Amara's cake and done nothing, about the woman who had helped forge her signature 3 days ago. She found out and decided to stay. More than that, look at the text exchange I included, page 15. Amara flipped through the documents until she found it, a printout of messages between Marcus and Destiny from last week. Marcus, I promise it's over. I'm doing this for us. Just help me get the money from Amara one last time and I'll fix everything. We can start fresh. Destiny, she's never going to forgive us after this. Marcus, she doesn't have to forgive us. She just has to pay, like she always does. Amara read the exchange 3 times. Her sister knew. She knew Marcus was cheating. She knew the money was being stolen, and instead of protecting herself, instead of protecting Amara, she had decided to help him rob her one more time. She had chosen her unfaithful husband over her sister. She had decided that maintaining the illusion of her marriage was worth destroying Amara's life. There's more, Coleman said. The loan they took out in your name, they've already spent $200,000 of it. On what? The anniversary party. They're trying to impress investors. They think if they throw a big enough event, they can convince people to give them money for Marcus's fund. They're using stolen money to commit more fraud. That's exactly what they're doing, and I have documentation of every transaction. Amara gathered the photographs, the bank statements, the text messages. She placed them carefully back in the envelope. Thank you, Coleman. This is exactly what I needed. What are you going to do with it? Amara thought about the party, about the 200 guests who would be there, about the investors Marcus was planning to defraud, about her family celebrating their victory while wearing clothes bought with her stolen identity. I'm going to give them the party they deserve. The next morning, Destiny woke up feeling almost hopeful. The money had come through. $600,000 sitting in their account like a miracle. Marcus had already paid off the most pressing debts. He had hired a caterer, rented tables and chairs, ordered flowers. The anniversary party was going to happen after all. She walked into the kitchen and found Marcus on the phone, pacing back and forth with nervous energy. Yes, I understand the terms. 20% interest, due in full in 90 days. He paused. No, that won't be a problem. I have several deals closing next month. The money will be there. He hung up and turned to Destiny with a grin. It's all coming together, baby. The party is going to be incredible. I've got confirmed RSVPs from 3 major investors. Once they see how successful we are, they'll be fighting to give us money. And then we pay back the loan? And then we pay back everything, the mortgage, the cars, the Sharkbridge loan, all of it. He pulled her into a hug. This is our fresh start, Destiny. I know things have been hard. I know I've made mistakes, but after Saturday, everything changes. Destiny wanted to believe him. She had wanted to believe him for 10 years. What about Amara? She asked quietly. What happens when she finds out about the loan? She won't find out. She blocked us, remember? She's not checking her credit reports. She thinks she won. She's too arrogant to imagine we'd fight back. But if she does find out, then we're already in a non-extradition country. Marcus laughed like he was joking, but his eyes weren't laughing. Relax, baby. I've got everything under control. He kissed her forehead and walked out to make more phone calls. Destiny stood alone in the kitchen. She thought about Amara, about the sister who had paid for her wedding, her house, her children's education, the sister she had helped betray. A small voice in the back of her mind whispered that this was wrong, that they had crossed the line that couldn't be uncrossed, that there would be consequences, but she pushed the voice down. She had made her choice. Now she had to live with it. Saturday arrived with perfect weather and perfect chaos. The house was transformed, white linens everywhere, crystal chandeliers hanging from the trees, a dance floor installed over the pool, a 12-piece orchestra setting up near the garden. 200 guests were expected. Doctors, lawyers, business owners, church members who had apparently forgiven the screenshot scandal in exchange for free champagne. Marcus was in his element, greeting early arrivals with handshakes and backslaps.
He was wearing a custom white suit that had cost $3,000 of Amara's stolen money. Destiny circulated through the crowd in a designer gown she couldn't really afford. She smiled. She laughed. She pretended everything was perfect. Mama Grace held court near the buffet table, accepting compliments on her daughter's beautiful home as if the foreclosure notice wasn't sitting in a drawer upstairs. Pastor Emmanuel stood by the bar, nursing a whiskey and watching his family perform their lies for an audience. Jordan ran through the crowd with his friends, oblivious to the disaster lurking beneath the surface. By 9 o'clock, the party was in full swing. Marcus had cornered 2 potential investors near the ice sculpture. He was giving them his pitch, gesturing enthusiastically, painting pictures of guaranteed returns and exclusive opportunities.
I'm telling you, gentlemen, this is the ground floor. Get in now, and you'll be thanking me for the rest of your lives.
The investors nodded politely. One of them reached for his checkbook. And then the front doors swung open. Every head turned. The music didn't stop, but it should have. Amara stood in the doorway. She was wearing a floor-length gown of deep crimson, blood red against the sea of white. The color screamed in the silence, but she hadn't come alone. Behind her stood a man with a badge on his belt, Sheriff Williams. 2 more men flanked him, wearing dark windbreakers with yellow letters across the chest, IRS. Further back, uniformed officers blocked the exits. Destiny dropped her champagne glass. It shattered on the marble floor. Marcus's face went from confident to terrified in the span of a heartbeat. Mama Grace grabbed Pastor Emmanuel's arm so hard her nails drew blood. Amara walked into the room. Her heels clicked on the floor with a slow, deliberate rhythm. The crowd parted for her like she was carrying a plague. She picked up a microphone from the DJ stand. "Good evening, everyone." Her voice echoed through the sudden silence. "I apologize for the interruption. I know the dress code was white." She paused, looking down at her crimson gown. "But I thought red was more appropriate for a crime scene." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Destiny found her voice. "Amara, what are you doing here? This is a private party. You need to leave." It was a private party. Amara's voice was ice. "Now it's a federal investigation." She pulled a remote from her clutch and pressed a button. The massive screen behind the stage, which had been displaying a loop of wedding photos, flickered and went black. Then a video appeared. Security footage. A living room. Date stamp from 5 days ago. Marcus sat at a kitchen table. Destiny stood beside him, holding a pen. Mama Grace hovered behind them. "Just trace it." Marcus's voice boomed through the speakers. "Stop shaking. We need that money. Just copy her signature. Amara's too stupid to check her credit report anyway." 200 guests watched in horror. "But what if she finds out?" Destiny's voice on the video. "What if she sends us to prison?" "She won't send us to prison. She's weak. She's just a glorified secretary. We take the money and she never knows." The video kept
Playing. Mama Grace handing Destiny a pen. Destiny practicing the signature. Marcus scanning it into his computer. The entire crime documented in high definition. Destiny collapsed onto the floor. Her white dress pooled around her like a surrender flag.
"That's not,"
she gasped.
"that's not what it looks like."
It's exactly what it looks like. Amara pressed the button again. But wait, there's more. Audio this time. Marcus's voice from a phone call 2 days ago. "As soon as the check's clear, we run. We take the investment money and hit the Cayman Islands. These idiots will never see a dime. They're sheep, Destiny. Rich, stupid sheep." The investors Marcus had been pitching slowly backed away from him. Phones came out, recording, live streaming. The downfall of the Thompson family was being broadcast to the world in real time. Marcus lunged toward Amara. "You vindictive little..." Sheriff Williams stepped between them.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Mr. Thompson.
"This is entrapment. This is illegal. You can't just..."
I can do whatever the evidence allows.
Amara's voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. "And I have plenty of evidence." She pressed the button one more time. A photograph filled the screen. Marcus pushing a stroller, a blonde woman beside him, a toddler with his nose and chin. "Her name is Heather Morrison," Amara announced. "She's 26 years old.
She lives in a condo in Midtown that was purchased with $75,000 of my money. The child's name is Ethan. He's 2 years old. He's Marcus's son." The silence that followed was absolute. Then Destiny screamed. Not a word, a sound, raw, primal. The sound of a woman watching her entire world collapse. She launched herself at Marcus, nails raking across his face. He stumbled backward, crashing into the bar. Bottles shattered, champagne sprayed across the white linens.
You promised!
She shrieked.
You said it was over!
Destiny, calm down.
You have a child with her? With my money! With my sister's money!
They tore at each other while guests scrambled backward, phones raised, capturing every moment. Sheriff Williams stepped forward.
Mr. Marcus Thompson, you are under arrest on 14 counts of wire fraud, 5 counts of money laundering, and 4 counts of tax evasion.
Officers grabbed Marcus and pulled him away from Destiny. His face was bleeding from her scratches. His white suit was torn.
This isn't happening.
His voice cracked.
This is a mistake. I'm a businessman.
You're a criminal. The handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists. Marcus struggled against the officers.
It was her!
He pointed at Destiny.
She's the one who forged the signature. I told her not to do it. Arrest her too!
Destiny froze. The man she had covered for, the man she had lied for, the man she had stolen from her own sister for. He was throwing her to the wolves.
You liar!
She screamed.
You handed me the pen!
But Marcus was already being dragged toward the
door, shouting accusations over his shoulder.
Mama Grace rushed forward, grabbing Amara's arm. Amara, please, stop this. The whole church is watching. Think about your family's reputation. Amara looked at her mother's hand, the same hand that had forged her signature, the same hand that had told her to clean the floor like a servant. I don't have a family, Amara said quietly. I have liabilities, and tonight I'm liquidating them. She pulled her arm free. One final announcement, she said into the microphone. I know some of you are wondering about the venue, how a couple facing foreclosure could afford all this. She pulled a document from her clutch. This house has been in foreclosure for 6 months. The bank seized it yesterday, but they wanted a quick sale. She held up the deed. I bought it this morning. This is my house now. Destiny made a sound like a wounded animal. The party is over, Amara announced. You have 5 minutes to leave. Anyone remaining after that is trespassing. The exodus was immediate. Guests scrambled for the exits. Cars roared to life in the driveway. Within minutes, only family remained. Pastor Emmanuel stood by the fireplace, looking like a man who had aged 20 years in 20 minutes. Mama Grace was on her knees beside Destiny, trying to help her up. Jordan sat crying on the staircase, watching through the window as police cars drove away with his father. Amara walked toward them. You too, she said quietly. Get out. Mama Grace looked up with tears streaming down her face. Where are we supposed to go? We sold our house. We have nothing. You should have thought about that before you tried to steal from me. Amara, please. We're your parents. We're your blood. Blood means nothing when it's been drained out of you for 34 years. She turned to Destiny. Get up. Get your son. Get out of my house. Destiny looked at her sister through swollen eyes. For the first time, she saw something she had never seen before. Not anger, not hurt, not even hatred. Nothing. Amara felt nothing for her anymore. Where will we go? Destiny whispered. I don't care. Amara turned her back and walked toward the door. Behind her, she heard them scrambling, crying, praying, begging. She didn't look back. She walked out the front door of the house she now owned and climbed into her waiting car. The driver pulled away into the night. In the rearview mirror, she could see her family stumbling out onto the lawn. No cars, no money, no shelter. 3 figures in formal wear, walking into darkness. Amara watched them shrink smaller and smaller. Then she turned around and faced forward. The city lights of Houston glittered ahead of her. She had done it. She had burned it all down, and she felt nothing
but relief. The motel room smelled like mildew and desperation. Destiny sat on the edge of the stained mattress, still wearing her ruined white gown. The hem was gray with dirt from walking 3 miles down the highway. Her
feet were bleeding from her designer heels. Mama Grace paced the small space, muttering prayers under her breath. Pastor Emmanuel sat in the corner chair, staring at the wall like a man who had lost the ability to speak. Jordan was curled up on the other bed, crying softly into a flat pillow. "We need to call someone," Destiny said. Her voice was hoarse from screaming. "There has to be someone who can help us." "Who?" Mama Grace stopped pacing. "The church? They've already seen the screenshots. Half of them were at the party tonight. They watched Marcus get arrested. They watched us get thrown out of our own home." "It's not our home anymore." Pastor Emmanuel's voice was hollow. "It's Amara's home. She bought it." "With what money?" Destiny snapped. "She's a document processor. She makes $40,000 a year. How does a document processor buy a $1.4 million house in cash?" Nobody had an answer. Destiny pulled out her phone. The screen was cracked from when she had dropped it during the arrest. She opened a browser and typed her sister's name. The search results loaded. Destiny's breath caught in her throat. "Oh my God." "What?" Mama Grace rushed over. "What is it?" Destiny turned the phone so her mother could see. Forbes magazine. 40 under 40. Dr. Amara Okonkwo, crisis management mogul. Houston Business Journal. Phoenix Global Crisis Group founder named most influential woman in Texas business. Wall Street Journal. The Fixer. How one immigrant built a $50 million empire cleaning up corporate disasters. Mama Grace grabbed the phone. Her hands were shaking. $50 million, she whispered. She has $50 million. She owns a company. Destiny's voice was barely audible. She's not a secretary. She owns an entire company. 3 floors of Sterling Tower. That's what the bank woman said, remember? Dr. Okonkwo on the 45th floor. Pastor Emmanuel stood up slowly. He walked over and took the phone from his wife's hands. He read the articles in silence. Then he started to laugh. It was a terrible sound, broken, hysterical. "We've been treating a millionaire like a servant," he said. "We've been mocking her Honda and her Target clothes while she was writing checks that could buy and sell us 100 times over. We told her to eat off the ground like a dog." He laughed harder. "And she let us. She let us believe we were above her for 15 years. "Why?" Mama Grace demanded. "Why would she hide this?" "Because of us." Pastor Emmanuel's laughter died. "Because she knew. She knew that the moment we found out, we would drain her dry. We would take everything. We would never stop taking." "That's not true." "It's exactly true. Look at what we did when we thought she had nothing. We stole her identity. We forged her signature. We took $600,000 in her name." His voice cracked. "What would we have done if we knew she had 50 million? Silence. Destiny started scrolling through more articles, photos of Amara at galas, Amara speaking at conferences, Amara shaking hands with governors and CEOs, a completely different person from the quiet sister who showed up to family events in old clothes and drove away in a dented Honda. "She was playing us," Destiny said, "this whole time. She was watching us treat her like garbage while she was richer than all of us combined. She was studying us, gathering evidence, waiting." Waiting for what? For this. Destiny threw the phone onto the bed. For us to cross a line she couldn't forgive. And then she burned everything down. Jordan sat up on the other bed. His face was streaked with tears. "Where's Daddy?" he asked. "When is Daddy coming back?" Nobody answered him, because nobody knew if Daddy was ever coming back. The next morning, Destiny went to the county jail.
The waiting room was full of people who looked like they hadn't slept in days. She fit right in. When they finally brought Marcus out, he looked like a different person. His expensive suit was gone, replaced by an orange jumpsuit. His face was unshaven. His eyes were hollow. They sat across from each other with a scratched plastic divider between them.
You look terrible, Marcus said. You're in jail.
Temporarily. My lawyer says we can fight this. The evidence was obtained illegally. Amara must have hacked into our system somehow. That's inadmissible. Marcus, there was video of us forging her signature. 200 people watched it on a giant screen. It could have been doctored. Deep fake technology. My lawyer is looking into it. Destiny stared at her husband. Even now, even sitting in jail in an orange jumpsuit, he was still lying, still spinning, still refusing to accept reality. Did you know? She asked quietly.
Know what?
About Amara. About who she really is. Marcus's expression flickered just for a second, but Destiny caught it. You knew, she whispered. You knew she was rich.
I suspected. A few years ago, I saw some documents when I was at her apartment. Bank statements, investment reports, numbers that didn't match someone who makes $40,000 a year.
And you didn't tell me?
Why would I? The less you knew, the more authentic you'd be when we asked her for money. If you thought she was struggling too, you'd be more convincing when you begged.
Destiny felt sick. You used me.
I used everyone. That's what successful people do.
He leaned forward.
Listen, baby, this isn't over. Amara has money, but I know things about her. Things she wouldn't want public. We can negotiate. We can make a deal. She drops the charges and we disappear quietly.
What things?
Things.
His eyes darted around the visiting room.
I've been watching her for years. I have information, leverage.
What kind of leverage could you possibly have against someone with $50 million and a team of lawyers? Marcus smiled. It was the smile he used when he thought he was the smartest person in the room.
I know where the bodies are.
Buried. Destiny stood up. I'm filing for divorce. Marcus's smile vanished. What? I'm filing for divorce. Today. I should have done it 6 months ago when I found out about Heather. I should have done it years ago when the gambling started. But I kept believing you. I kept thinking you would change.
Baby, come on. We're a team. We can fix this together.
There is no together. Destiny's voice was shaking. You have a child with another woman. You stole money from my sister. You convinced me to commit federal crimes. And now you're sitting in jail talking about leverage instead of talking about how we're going to survive.
I can get us out of this.
No, you can't. You never could. You just kept digging the hole deeper and deeper while I pretended not to notice. She picked up her purse. I'm done pretending.
Destiny, wait.
Goodbye, Marcus. She walked out of the visiting room without looking back. Behind her, she could hear Marcus shouting her name, demanding she come back, threatening, pleading. She kept walking. For the first time in 10 years, she didn't listen to him. 3 days later, Destiny showed up at Sterling Tower. She had found the address online, the building where Amara apparently owned the top 3 floors, the building where her sister ran a company worth more than anything Destiny had ever dreamed of. The lobby was intimidating. Marble floors, security guards, people in expensive suits moving with purpose and confidence. Destiny approached the reception desk. She was wearing the only clean clothes she had left, a Target sundress that was wrinkled from being stuffed in a motel drawer. I'm here to see Amara Okonkwo. The receptionist looked her up and down. Do you have an appointment? No, I'm her sister. The receptionist's expression didn't change. Dr. Okonkwo doesn't accept visitors without appointments. Would you like to schedule one? Can you just tell her I'm here? Please, tell her Destiny needs to talk to her. The receptionist typed something into her computer, made a phone call, spoke quietly into the receiver, then she hung up. I'm sorry, ma'am. Dr. Okonkwo is not available. Did you tell her my name? I did. And she said no? She said she doesn't have a sister. The words hit Destiny like a physical blow. She stood frozen in the lobby while people walked around her, going about their business, completely unaware that her world had just ended for the second time in a week. "Ma'am?" The receptionist's voice was gentler now. "Is there anything else I can help you with?" Destiny shook her head slowly. She turned and walked back toward the revolving doors. Her legs felt numb. Her chest felt hollow. She had lost her house, her husband, her money, her reputation, and now she had lost her sister too. She pushed through the doors and stepped onto the sidewalk. "Destiny." She spun around. Amara was standing near the building entrance. She was wearing a suit that probably cost more than all of
Destiny's remaining possessions combined. "You came down," Destiny breathed. "I watched you on the security camera." Amara's voice was flat. "You looked pathetic enough that I decided to say goodbye in person." "Goodbye?" "This is the last time we'll speak. I wanted to be clear about that." Destiny felt tears welling up. "Amara, please. I know I messed up. I know I did terrible things. But we're sisters. We grew up together. We shared a room for 18 years. Doesn't that mean anything?" It meant everything. Amara's voice cracked slightly, just for a moment. "For 34 years, it meant everything. I would have done anything for you. I did do everything for you. I paid for your wedding, your house, your children's education. I covered every mistake. I cleaned up every mess." "I know." "And what did I get?" Amara stepped closer. "I got to sit in the back of family photos. I got to hear you call me a charity case behind my back. I got to watch your son destroy my graduation cake while you laughed. And then I got to watch you forge my signature to steal $600,000. I didn't want to do it. Marcus pressured me." "You had a choice." Amara's voice was hard now. "You've always had a choice. Every single time you took from me, every single time you let Marcus treat me like garbage, every single time you stood by while Mama told me I wasn't good enough, you had a choice, and you always chose them over me." "That's not fair." "It's completely fair. You made your choice when you picked up that pen. You made your choice when you signed my name. You made your choice when you took stolen money and threw a party with it." Amara straightened her spine. "Now I'm making mine." "What about Jordan?" Destiny grabbed Amara's arm. "He's your nephew. He's innocent in all this. Are you really going to let him suffer because of what we did?" Amara looked at her sister's hand on her arm. "Jordan called me a dog. He told me to eat off the ground. He learned that from watching you, from watching Marcus, from watching Mama." She pulled her arm free. "He's not innocent. He's a product of the family you created." "He's 10 years old!" "Old enough to know cruelty. Old enough to learn that treating people like garbage has consequences." "Amara, please, I'm begging you, don't do this." Amara was silent for a long moment. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a check. $50,000, she said. "Enough for a deposit on an apartment. Enough to start over somewhere else, far away from Houston, far away from me." Destiny stared at the check with trembling hands. "This is more than I deserve." "You're right, it is." Amara pressed the check into her sister's palm. "Consider it severance pay for 34 years of service as my sister." "Amara." "Don't contact me again. Don't show up at my building. Don't send Mama or anyone else to plead your case." Amara's eyes were dry. Her voice was steady. "If you try to reach me, I will." "Have you arrested for harassment? If Marcus tries to use his leverage, I will ensure he spends the next 20 years in federal prison instead of 10. Destiny clutched the check to her chest. "Is this really how it ends? After everything?" "This is how you ended it." Amara turned to walk back into the building. "The moment you chose him over me. The moment you picked up that pen. You just didn't know it yet." "I'm sorry." Destiny's voice broke. "I'm so sorry for everything." Amara paused at the door. For a moment, Destiny thought she might turn around, might say something soft, something forgiving. But she didn't. "Goodbye, Destiny." The door closed behind her. Destiny stood alone on the sidewalk,
holding a check that represented everything she had lost and everything she would never get back. People walked around her. Traffic moved through the intersection. The city continued its endless motion, indifferent to her grief. She looked up at the building. Somewhere up there, her sister was going back to her life, her real life, the life Destiny had never bothered to know about because she was too busy using Amara as an ATM. She had lost her, not because of the fraud, not because of the forgery, not because of the party. She had lost her years ago. One small cruelty at a time, one dismissive comment at a time, one taken for granted favor at a time. She just hadn't realized it until now. Destiny folded the check carefully and put it in her pocket. Then she started walking. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she couldn't stay here anymore. That night, Mama Grace showed up at the motel room with a bottle of wine and a plan. "We're not giving up," she announced, pushing past Destiny into the room. "I've been thinking about this all day. Amara has money. Fine. She's angry. Fine. But she's still our blood, and blood is thicker than anything." Destiny sat on the bed, exhausted. "Mama, she gave me a check for $50,000 and told me never to contact her again." "She gave you money? Good. That means she still cares." "It means she was paying me to go away." "It means she still feels something. Guilty people don't write checks. She's conflicted. We can use that." Destiny stared at her mother. For the first time in her life, she really looked at her, at the woman who had raised her, at the woman who had taught her how to treat people, at the woman who had shown her through example that some people were worth less than others. "Mama, do you hear yourself?" "What?" "We committed crimes against her. We stole her identity. We forged her signature. We took $600,000 in her name. And your first instinct is to figure out how to manipulate her into giving us more?" "I'm not manipulating anyone. I'm trying to save this family." "This family destroyed itself." Destiny stood up. "We destroyed it. You, me, Marcus. We treated Amara like she was nothing, like she existed only to serve us. And when she finally fought back,
We're surprised? She's being dramatic. She's being rational. Destiny felt something shifting inside her, something that had been building for days, maybe years. For the first time in her life, she's putting herself first. She's protecting herself from us. Because we're toxic, Mama. We're poison. Mama Grace's face twisted with anger. "How dare you speak to me that way? After everything I sacrificed for you girls." "What did you sacrifice? Tell me. Because from where I'm standing, Amara sacrificed everything. Her money, her credit, her peace of mind. Her entire adult life was spent cleaning up our messes while we laughed at her." "I never laughed." "You told her to clean the floor, while your grandson called her a dog, in front of 30 people. You didn't defend her. You didn't discipline Jordan. You told her to get paper towels." "It was just a cake." "It was her PhD celebration, the only thing she ever asked for, and we couldn't even give her that?" Mama Grace slammed the wine bottle on the dresser. "So what do you want me to do? Grovel? Beg? Get on my knees and apologize to the daughter who just destroyed our lives?" "I want you to understand what we did." Destiny's voice dropped. "I want you to look in the mirror and see what I see. A family of users, takers, people who measured love in dollars and wondered why the person with all the dollars stopped loving us." "That's enough." "No, it's not. Because tomorrow, I'm going to find a lawyer. I'm going to cooperate with the federal investigation. I'm going to tell them everything Marcus did, everything I did, everything you did, and I'm going to take whatever punishment I deserve." "You'll go to prison." "Maybe. Probably. But at least I'll be able to live with myself." Destiny walked to the door and opened it. "You need to leave, Mama. I need to be alone." Mama Grace stared at her daughter like she was looking at a stranger. "You've lost your mind. Both of my daughters have lost their minds." "No." Destiny met her mother's eyes. "We finally found them." Mama Grace grabbed her purse and stormed out,
The door slammed behind her. Destiny stood alone in the dingy motel room. Tomorrow, she would call a lawyer. Tomorrow, she would start the long process of facing consequences. Tomorrow, she would begin the painful work of becoming someone different. But tonight, she had one more thing to do. She pulled out her phone and opened a blank message. She typed slowly, carefully, knowing these might be the last words her sister ever read from her. Amara, I know you told me not to contact you. I'll respect that after this, but I need you to know something. You were right. About everything. About me, about Mama, about Marcus, about the family we created. I spent so many years being jealous of you, your intelligence, your discipline, your ability to build something from nothing. And instead of being proud of my sister, I tore you down. I let Marcus tear you down. I taught my son to tear you down.
Don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I see it now. I see what we did. I see who I was. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to become someone different. Someone you might have been proud to call a sister. I love you. I always did. I just didn't know how to show it. Goodbye, Amara. She pressed send, then she turned off her phone and lay down on the bed. For the first time in weeks, she slept without nightmares. Because the hardest part was over, she had finally told the truth. Amara read Destiny's message 3 times. She was sitting in her penthouse, the Houston skyline glittering behind her. Her finger hovered over the delete button, but she didn't press it. Instead, she set the phone down and walked to the window. For 15 years, she had dreamed of this moment. The moment when her family would finally see her. Finally understand what they had done. Finally acknowledge the damage they had caused. Now that moment had arrived. And she felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, not even relief, just emptiness. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her attorney. Dr. Okonkwo, I wanted to update you on the case. Marcus Thompson's lawyer has reached out. They're offering a plea deal. Full confession in exchange for reduced charges. 8 to 10 years instead of 15 to 20. And Destiny? She contacted the FBI this morning. She's cooperating fully, providing testimony against her husband and her mother. The prosecutor is recommending probation and community service given her cooperation. What about my mother? Mrs. Okonkwo is being charged as an accessory. Given her age, she'll likely receive house arrest and a suspended sentence. He paused. Amara, I need to ask. Do you want to pursue maximum penalties? Or are you willing to accept the plea deals? Amara thought about her mother. 70 years old. A lifetime of pride and appearances reduced to house arrest and community service. She thought about Marcus. 10 years in federal prison. His business destroyed, his reputation ruined. His secret family exposed to the world. She thought about Destiny. Homeless. Divorced. Facing the consequences of choices she made to please a man who had never deserved her loyalty. She thought about Jordan. A 10-year-old boy who would grow up visiting his father in prison. Who would learn, the hard way, that cruelty has consequences. Accept the deals, she said quietly. All of them. Are you sure? We could push for more. I'm sure. This was never about punishment. It was about freedom. She hung up the phone. The city lights blurred as tears filled her eyes. She had won. So why did it feel like she had lost something too? 3 months later, everything had changed. Marcus was serving his sentence at a federal facility in Louisiana. He had stopped calling after the first month. Stopped writing after the second. The man who had controlled Destiny for 10 years had simply given up. Mama Grace was under house arrest at a small apartment in the suburbs. The church had quietly asked her to step down from all her committees. The women who had once sought her approval now crossed the street to avoid her. Pastor Emmanuel had filed for divorce. He told the congregation he couldn't remain married to a woman who had helped steal from her own child. He was living in a modest apartment near the church, trying to rebuild his reputation, one sermon at a time.
And Destiny was working at a call center in Dallas. She had taken the $50,000 Amara gave her and started over. A small apartment, a used car, a job that paid barely enough to cover rent and groceries. But she was surviving. Every morning, she woke up at 5 to get ready for work. Every evening, she came home exhausted and fell asleep watching television. Every weekend, she drove 3 hours to visit Jordan, who was living with Marcus's parents until she could afford a bigger place. It was a hard life, a humbling life, a life she had never imagined for herself, but it was honest, and for the first time in years, she could look at herself in the mirror without flinching. One Thursday afternoon, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Telemarketers had been calling constantly since she changed her number, but something made her pick up.
Hello? Mrs. Thompson?
A woman's voice, young, hesitant.
My name is Heather Morrison.
Destiny's blood went cold. Heather, Marcus's mistress, the mother of his secret child. What do you want?
I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need to talk to you. Please. It's about Ethan.
Destiny should have hung up, should have blocked the number, should have pretended this woman didn't exist, but she didn't.
Talk. Marcus never told me he was married, not at first. By the time I found out, I was already pregnant. I thought about leaving, but he said he was going to divorce you. He said we were going to be a family.
Heather's voice cracked.
He lied about everything, the money, the business, the divorce, everything.
Why are you telling me this?
Because I lost everything too. The condo is being seized. My bank accounts are frozen because they contain stolen money. I'm going to be evicted next week, and I have a 2-year-old son who doesn't understand why his daddy isn't coming home.
Destiny closed her eyes. She should hate this woman who had slept with her husband, who had borne his child, who had unknowingly been living off money stolen from Amara. But she couldn't find the hatred anymore. She was too tired for hatred.
What do you want from me, Heather? I don't know.
The woman was crying now.
I don't know what I want. I just needed to talk to someone who understands, someone who knows what it's like to have your whole life destroyed by the same man.
Destiny laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound. You want to know what I understand? I understand that we were both fools. We both believed a man who was incapable of telling the truth. We both built our lives on foundations of lies, and now we're both paying for it. I'm so sorry for everything. I know it doesn't help, but I'm sorry. It doesn't help. Destiny paused, but I accept it anyway. Silence on the line. What are you going to do? Destiny finally asked. I don't know. My parents are in Ohio. I might move back there, try to start over. Give Ethan a chance at a normal life. That sounds like a good plan. What about you? Destiny looked around her small apartment, at the second-hand furniture, the bare walls, the stack of bills on the counter. I'm going to keep working, keep saving, keep trying to be better than I was. She took a breath. And someday, maybe, I'm going to find a way to make things right with my sister. The one Marcus stole from? The one we all stole from, for years, in ways she'll probably never forgive. Do you think she'll ever talk to you again? Destiny thought about the message she had sent, the message Amara had never answered. I don't know, but I'm going to keep trying. Not because I expect her to forgive me, but because she deserves to know that I changed. That what happened meant something, that I'm not the same person who picked up that pen. Heather was quiet for a long moment. You're stronger than I thought you'd be. I'm not strong, I'm just tired of being weak. They talked for another hour, two women who should have been enemies, finding common ground in the wreckage of their shared mistakes. When Destiny finally hung up, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Not for reconciliation, not for forgiveness, not for things to go back to the way they were. Hope that she could become someone different, someone better. Someone worthy of the second chance she didn't deserve. 6 months after the party, Amara made a decision.
She sold the house in Sugarland. She didn't need it. Didn't want the memories it contained. Didn't want to profit from her family's destruction. She donated the proceeds to a scholarship fund for first-generation immigrant students at Rice University. The fund was anonymous, no press releases, no naming rights. Just quiet help for young people who reminded her of herself. She threw herself into her work. Phoenix Global Crisis Group had never been busier. Companies across the country needed her expertise. Her team expanded. Her reputation grew. Her bank account swelled with money she would never need. But something was different now. The drive that had pushed her for 15 years, the need to prove herself, to accumulate enough success that her family would finally see her, that drive was gone. She had proven everything she needed to prove, and it hadn't made her happy. One evening, she was working late in her office when her assistant knocked on the door. "Dr. Okonkwo, there's someone here to see you." "I don't have any appointments." She says she's family. Amara's heart stopped. "Who?" "A young woman. She says her name is Jordan Thompson." "Jordan." Amara stood up slowly. "Send her in." The door opened and a girl walked in. Not a boy, a girl, maybe 18 or 19 years old, with braids and nervous eyes and a face that looked hauntingly familiar. "I'm sorry," Amara said, confused. "There must be a mistake. I thought—" "I'm not Jordan," the girl said quickly. I am Jordan, Jordan Morrison, Heather's daughter from her first marriage." She twisted her hands together. "Ethan is my little brother, half-brother." Amara sat back down. "I don't understand. Why are you here?" "Because I know what Marcus did to you. I know what my mom was part of, even though she didn't know the money was stolen. And I know that your family, your real family, they hurt you really bad." "That's all true, but it doesn't explain why you're standing in my office." Jordan took a deep breath. "I'm starting college next year. I got into University of Houston, full scholarship. I want to study business." She met Amara's eyes. "I looked you up. I read about everything you built, how you started with nothing and created this whole empire. And I thought—" She stopped, swallowed hard. "I thought maybe you could teach me how to be like you, how to build something real." Amara stared at this young woman, this stranger who shared a name with the nephew who had called her a dog, this girl who came from the wreckage of Marcus's lies, looking for something better. "Why me? There are plenty of successful businesswomen in Houston." "Because you survived your family." Jordan's voice was steady now. "You survived people who were supposed to love you, but only used you instead, and you didn't let it destroy you. You didn't become bitter or cruel. You just got free." She stepped closer to the desk. "I need to learn how to do that, how to survive my family, how to become something different from where I came from." Amara was quiet for a long time. She thought about turning this girl away, about maintaining the wall she had built, about protecting herself from any connection to the people who had hurt her. But she also thought about herself at 18, scared, ambitious, desperate to become something more than what her family expected. She had done it alone. Maybe this girl didn't have to. "I can't promise anything," Amara finally said. "I don't know if I can teach you what you're looking for." "But you'll try?" Amara looked at Jordan Morrison, at the hope in her eyes, at the determination in her jaw. "I'll try." Jordan's face split into a smile, and for the first time in months, Amara felt something crack open inside her chest. Not pain, something else, something that felt almost like healing. 1 year later, Amara received a letter. It wasn't from Destiny. It wasn't from Mama Grace. It wasn't from anyone she expected. It was from Jordan, her nephew, the boy who had pushed her cake onto the ground. The handwriting was shaky. The words were simple, but they hit her harder than anything else had in the past year. "Dear Aunt Amara, my mom made me write this, but I wanted to write it anyway. I'm sorry for what I said at the party. I'm sorry I called you a dog. I'm sorry I pushed your cake. I didn't understand what I was doing. My dad taught me to say those things. He told me you were weak and stupid and that we were better than you. I know now that he was lying. He lied about everything. I'm 11 now. I live with my grandparents because Mom is working in Dallas. She sends money when she can. She talks about you sometimes. She says you were always the strong one, the one who deserved better. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I wanted you to know that I'm trying to be different. I don't want to be like my dad. I want to be someone you might be proud of someday, even if you never talk to me again. Love, Jordan. Amara read the letter 5 times. Then she walked to her window and looked out at the Houston skyline. She thought about forgiveness, about what it meant, about whether it was possible to forgive people who had hurt you so deeply. She thought about her mother, alone in a small apartment, stripped of everything she valued. She thought about her father, trying to rebuild his life after divorcing the woman he had been married to for 40 years. She thought about Destiny, working a call center job and saving every penny to get her son back. She thought about Jordan, an 11-year-old boy trying to unlearn the cruelty he had been taught. And she thought about herself, the woman who had burned everything down to be free. The woman who had won every battle but wasn't sure if she had won the war. She picked up her phone. She typed a message. Jordan, thank you for your letter. I'm not ready to forgive everything yet, but I'm proud of you for trying to be different. That takes courage. Maybe someday, when you're older, we can talk. Until then, keep being brave. Keep being honest. Keep being better than the people who taught you wrong. Your aunt, Amara. She pressed send, then she set the phone down and took a deep breath. The past was not erased. The wounds were not healed. The damage was not undone. But something had shifted. A door that had been sealed shut had cracked open, just a little, and for the first time since the party, Amara felt something she thought she had lost forever. Peace. Not the peace of victory, not the peace of revenge, not the peace of watching her enemies fall. The peace of letting go, the peace of moving forward, the peace of knowing that she was finally, truly free. She had spent 34 years being invisible, being used, being treated like nothing. She had spent 1 year being the disaster her family could not fix, and now, finally, she was ready to be something else. Not the victim, not the villain, not the wallet or the servant or the scapegoat, just Amara. A woman who had survived the worst her family could throw at her, a woman who had built an empire from
Nothing. A woman who had learned, the hardest way possible, that the only person who could define her worth was herself. She walked away from the window. She had work to do, a company to run, a mentee to guide, a life to live. The family that had tried to break her was scattered to the winds. Some of them were learning. Some of them were growing. Some of them might never change. But that was their journey now, not hers. Amara sat down at her desk, opened her laptop, and got back to work. Because the woman who had been told to eat off the ground like a dog had finally stopped looking down. She was looking forward, and she was never looking back again.